One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads, feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days, and we back again for another episode of the Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball. What's up, everybody? Glad everybody's able to tune in. The picture that y'all seen during the opening was a shout out to a very special friend of mine. Been friends for many years. And he unfortunately passed away today. I just got the news right before the show started. It's bear with me for a minute. He was a true friend. He was one that no matter what the situation was, you go to him, and if he could help you, he would, no question. He's one of them friends. If you go to him and tell him, "Listen, man, I need you to do something I can't explain to you, but it got to go down," and he's gonna be like, "You know what? Whose car we taking?" He ain't gonna ask no questions. He was one of them type of friends. You know what I mean? And it was sad to hear what happened. He was in a in a motorcycle wreck like you, Mike, some few years ago, and like you, he also lost a limb, lost his leg. He was, had to go through the whole thing with the prosthesis and all that. Um, sad, sad day, sad day. So we're gonna we're gonna try to get this show going. Like I said, I may fumble a couple times, so bear with me tonight. But
That's all right.
but I had to do that first. You know what I mean? Because it's weighing heavy on me right now. So Tony, glad you on here, brother. Tony is also real good friend to Jughead, and actually I met Tony through Jughead when I came to Florida because he was already here, and we ended up being good friends as well. So, um, man, I don't know what else to say about this, man, but my prayers and condolences go out to Jughead's family, Melissa, and son Randy, and um, man, no, that's to say, man. But
May you
start.
rest in peace, man.
Yeah, let's start the show.
That's right.
So for decades, governments sold us on one simple promise: if you work hard, follow the rules, pay your taxes, stay patient, then tomorrow will be a better day. And overall growth was that guarantee. Progress was just an assumption, and the future was something that we all look forward to. But I need you to listen closely because that language has changed. Leaders don't talk about growth the way they used to. They don't promise expansion, prosperity, opportunities at a scale that they used to. Instead, the new word for everyone is resilience. Resilient communities, resilient infrastructure, resilient economies, resilient citizens. Now, on the surface, that sounds responsible, even comforting to some people. Who wouldn't want to be resilient? But words matter. And when the people that's in charge of promising improvement and starts talking about endurance, then that's that branding shift.
Yes.
That's a warming. Um,
Nomenclature is important.
yes, because growth assumes stability, and resilience assumes disruption. Growth assumes tomorrow is going to be a bigger day, a better day, while resilience assumes tomorrow might be a little bit harder. So the real question isn't whether resilience is good or bad. The real question is why now? Why use this word? Why everywhere? And what does it say about the government's eye on what they see coming that they haven't said out loud yet? So tonight we're going to break down this quiet pivot from growth to resilience, the historical moments that that kind of reinforced it, who benefits from this shift, and what it means for everyday people living inside this system that are no longer designed to expand, but to survive. Because when leaders stop promising more, you have to ask, what are they preparing for instead?
Of course, it's a trade-off always.
Right. So this is what we're gonna tackle today. Um, so we're gonna start out talking about this language shift. And I want to start with something subtle because the biggest changes usually don't announce themselves loudly. So if you listen to a lot of these politicians and these global forums and World Economic Forum just last week and policy papers, even uh, corporate earnings, there's a word that keeps popping up in everybody's conversation, and that's resilience.
Mm.
They're not talking about growth. They're not talking about expansion. They're not talking about prosperity. They're only talking about resilience. And at first glance, it sounds responsible. It sounds mature. It sounds like adults are finally in charge of things, and they're working on it. But when you zoom out on that, you realize that this word doesn't replace growth by accident. It replaces it because growth is no longer something leaders are confident in promising people.
Right.
Um, this growth assumes things that are fundamentally stable. It assumes that the supply chains will work, that energy stays affordable, that data stays manageable, and that the geopolitical tensions don't spiral out of control. Because resilience assumes the opposite. It assumes disruption, which is now like our normal. So when a lot of these leaders emphasize resilience, what are they really telling you without saying it directly? Are they saying that things are unstable, and they are they saying that this is just a temporary phase, or is this kind of like the baseline that they're trying to plan around?
Man, I hate to be that guy, but it's all downhill from here. It's all downhill. Like I don't see there being much quote unquote growth, uh, you know, much at all. So yeah, I think that the politicians know it just like the people do. I mean, especially the politicians. And at this point, yeah, they're changing their rhetoric from promises of growth to resilience, of course. I would
Yeah,
have to do the same if I was a politician, right? I mean, when you start going into hard times, you got to start getting your people prepared to be resilient.
yeah, true, true. For the most part of it, you would think that, but like I was saying before, you know, back in the latter years, that was part of the whole American dream. You know,
Hmm.
you work hard, study hard, you pay your taxes, and if you do all these things, then everything is going to be good for you. You
Right.
know, um, and now with a lot of the changes that's going on, and it's not it's not just changes that just happened. This is changes that's been going on for a period of years, and it's been gradually uh, decreasing to the point now that you're actually questioning yourself as to, you know, what exactly is this? You know what I mean? And then you keep hearing this word resilient, we stand resilient, and to me, that's just another word of saying, okay, everything that you thought that you was gonna be able to do, nah, it may
May
not be
may
so.
not pan it may not pan out like that.
Right,
Right.
right, right. It may not be what you think it is. Or you may get it, but you're not gonna get all that you think you're gonna get.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm getting out of it. Um, but like when you think about it, for most of history, a lot of these governments kind of ruled on that simple promise. You know what I mean? Tomorrow will be better than it was today, and that's a lot of things that I heard when I was growing up. You know what I mean? It may be bad today, but tomorrow's another day,
Right.
another opportunity, another way to um, reach out and take what you need, get
That's
what you
right.
want.
Make another opportunity out of the day. Right.
Right. Now, I'm right after, let's see, right after World War II, growth became that 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 engine for legitimacy. So think about it: GDP went up, jobs expanded, infrastructure improved, and the government basically said, stick with us because this system works, and if you stick with it, everything else is going to be okay. But that promise started cracking right around the 70s, 1970s, when you had the oil shocks and you had inflation, and then here come globalization. That started creeping in, which kind of masked that instability by kind of spreading the production across the world and locked it in on growth. But that was what was fragile. The fragile part of it was the growth. And then the real turning point was right around 2008 when you had the financial system that nearly collapsed, and government stepped in to save it, but something changed permanently when that happened, though. Like the overall trust in that belief that this system works as long as you stick with it. You know that, during 2008, that's when you had the huge financial crisis with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and people were losing houses, and I mean, banks was folding, all different kind of stuff, and then you
I
had the
think
Fed jump in and just kind of save the day.
I think we're looking at like ever since the Federal Reserve was established. Ever since then, every 20 years, there's a major disaster. That's the way I see it. All the way from then, from what was the Federal Reserve established. I can't remember the date, but nonetheless, it 70s, 90s, .com mania, '02. I mean, and this is specific to what people were feeling in the market, and when governments had to come in, bail out, do a whole bunch of shit. Yeah, I think we're on a downward slope and have been since the Federal Reserve has been established.
Mm-hmm. Now from that part, from 2008 on, you have a lot of these policymakers that kind of understood that something that the public they understood something that the public wasn't fully told, and that was that this system could survive shocks, but only barely. And if it broke again, then the consequences would be way worse than what went on in 2008. So fast forward to today, you got pandemics, you got wars, you got rumors of wars, you got supply chain breakdowns, you have climate events, which you just had a huge snowstorm that just took over the Midwest here in the East Coast.
Dude, 2,300 miles of a weather storm. That's insane. 2,300
Right.
miles.
Right, massive debt that everyone is going through, and then these experts that talk about it every day, they call it a what's the word, a poly crisis, which is like multiple crises that's overlapping each other.
Oh shit. Yeah,
And
that's the predicament we're in for damn sure.
right, and
At
it
this
really
point.
right, and at that point, there really isn't a clear solution to how to fix it. They just
Yeah,
keep
because
talking about it.
you can fix one thing, but then you can dramatically affect this part, and now you've totally destroyed yourself. So there's when you're dealing with not just one chaotic problem, but multiple at the same time. Yeah, that I'm sure it's going to be difficult to navigate.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Now let's talk about that word resilience and what it really means in the actual practice that they're using it on. So let's translate resilience out of policy language and put it into basically plain English. So resilience means um, building systems that don't collapse when it hits, even if they don't improve. Um, so take like silver that we was talking about a couple of weeks ago, how the price of that, you know, caused major issues, but it didn't collapse.
Right.
You see what I mean? It may have put some banks on the verge. You know what I mean? They still never came out as to which bank actually did bankrupt to where the Fed had to jump in and bail it out. Never said it yet, but there was one. But it was still able to keep going, even though it took that initial shock. It was still able to keep going, and that means that the redundancy kind of it's more. Let me see. I would say redundancy instead of efficiency. Um, it buffered instead of spread it out. That's basically what I'm saying. Where the endurance instead of progress. Um, but that's why you hear a lot about the energy grids, the food systems, the banking regulations, infrastructure, and even social behavior, because all of that stuff is going on right now. Because the government, they're no longer asking how do we grow this, they're asking how do we keep this from faltering. How to keep everything afloat and not have these huge sustained losses, which is why back in December they switched from the quantitative tightening over to quantitative easing, so that way
Easing, right?
that freed them up to where they were actually able to
Has some
print
playing
this
around.
money out. Right,
Right.
right. So you printing it out on paper and you spreading it out. You actually did it just in time, because when that silver hit, you were able to come in and bail that out. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because you had to print out more. Um,
I mean, that further just exemplifies the little graph that I made here. I did show this, I don't know, last week or the week before, but U.S. dollar purchasing power from the start of 2025 to 2026. You guys can see that blue line going down. That's us just basically printing money, and gold and silver, ironically, are just skyrocketing in purchasing power. So keep that in consideration.
hmm Let me ask you. Let me shoot you a question right quick.
Sure.
So when you hear these leaders repeat this word resilience, does it sound like responsible planning on their end, or more towards um, their actual lowered expectation?
I would say a combination of actually both. It has to be. Um, I think that politicians do things and say things in particular, A, to get elected and reelected, but to also be able to go, hey, I told you so, And so when they start using specific words like resilience, I think, yeah, your ears should definitely perk up. Absolutely. Each word is selected by them like that on purpose.
hmm I think on the um, trying to think of a good way to put this. Um, I think on our side, like on the people side of it, I think that um, most people don't consciously recognize it. They don't really pay attention to
No, you're right.
it, because
It's super
they don't
subtle.
act, right. 'Cause they don't actually feel it right now in their daily lives, so they it kind of goes right above them. You know what I mean? Um, and it's kind of like, okay, higher costs, fewer guarantees, a little bit more uncertainty, and it's like where it has been that way for a period of time. They've gotten used to this part of it. You know what I mean? And then it's a lot of people that, you know, the younger ages, younger adults that didn't really go through the actual age um, where I had grew up in, where you had this, you know what I mean? So if there's nothing for them to actually compare it to, you know what I mean? Because they wasn't living back then where all this was, you know what I mean, was coming up, the whole American dream speech and being able to, you know, uh, work hard and everything was going to happen for you. And if you
Man, I
work and
never
you
even
save
heard
and
that
you get all
rhetoric.
that, you're gonna get all of that. You know what I mean? Like I
I
said,
never even heard that shit. For me, it was you'll never be able to afford a house. Okay, that's kind of
right.
where
That's
I
what you
was.
right. That's what you get
That's what I
now.
was born into.
Right.
Real quick, and Papa D coming in with the $2 saying blessings. Very much
Okay.
appreciate that, kind sir. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's what they say now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? When during my time it was like everybody was okay, you you got a job, got your house and wife and kids and white picket fence
Right.
and you know what I mean, that was what you strived for. You know what I mean? Where you can You can buy a house when you were in your 20s. And, now the average age for people buying a house is in their 40s.
Yes. Yep.
So it is drastically
Late 40s, by the way.
changed. Right, right. It is drastically changed. Just like how, you know, um, women usually had kids younger back then. Now, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't even want to have kids because everything is so high and it's so expensive.
They're
You really
like,
can't
dude,
afford them.
I can't. They're like, I can't even afford to feed myself. How am I going to be able to, feed a child and be able to? I mean, do you know how many diapers you go through when you're having a? I mean, unless you're a parent, you don't know that kind of shit. Like how much, like the amount of formula you need to get. If I mean, eventually you're going to probably end up using it. How much baby food in general, diapers. I mean, the cost of living for children is it's insane, actually.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know all the fathers in here are like damn straight, Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right. Now, I'm gonna tell you how this matters to us regular people. Why does this matter? Because it isn't abstract and this shows up in daily life, whether you realize it or not. But this resilience becomes the goal. The cost is often shifted downward. A lot of us are told to adapt and learn to be flexible, live within your means, and accept the higher prices with fewer guarantees
Wait, hold
and
on.
more possible responsibility.
You just told like 98% of people that are not willing to do that one very thing, live below your means. That is the biggest struggle for Americans. Period.
Right.
They
Right.
just don't know that it's really difficult for Americans. We are a consumer nation. That's all we do is consume everything. So, and also we also have a little bit of a chip on all of our shoulders. Like, hey, I'm living this kind of lifestyle. I've got this kind of car. I've got this kind of house. I've got, you know what I mean? So you have no point to prove to anybody. This is survival, baby. Fuck all that nonsense.
Right. Okay, now think about this part though. So at the same time of what you just saying right there, you got these institutions that get insulated. The banks get their buffers, corporations get the bailouts, um, the government expands emergency authority. But what do you get when you above your means? Or you done maxed out your cards, or you know,
Mm-hmm.
or your debt income ratio is off tremendously because
Yeah, the
your
bank is
your
about
wage
to.
is staying one way and everything else is going here. You know, you don't get a bailout.
Yeah, the
You
bank is
stuck.
about to come in and take your fucking house, homie.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. The
you're
same bank,
one payment away from them taking your whole existence away.
right. And that's actually how it really is. Right now, there's studies that's
Yeah,
saying
there
that
ain't no
the
bailout for
average
that shit.
household is basically one paycheck away from not having anything because
Total
a
chaos.
lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck right now. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And they've been doing it for a number of years now. And like I said, where you do it for so long, it becomes normal. You know what I mean? It's normal to, you know, work, get your check, look at it, hand it off to somebody else. Because
Totally.
you know what I mean, you sit here and work for 2 weeks and you like, oh man, I done put in 80 hours this week, and taxes hit you for part of your overtime, and then the rest of it going to your bills. And now you're sitting here like, okay, well, I'll get another check in 12 days and I'll see what I
Yeah.
can do then. You know what I mean? And in the meantime, you robbing Peter to pay Paul, not paying
Totally.
this bill to pay this over here. Okay, I'm not gonna go shopping this week because I gotta pay this light bill this week, and I gotta pay this, and I gotta pay this, and I'm not gonna have money for this. So, you know, I'm gonna get a little something, but not as much as I wanted to. You know what I mean? Everything you start putting priority to what's important, and the other stuff just kind of goes to the wayside. You know what I mean? And we've gotten used to that.
Totally. We're extremely comfortable the way that we are, and also something that Steve Easy says here. A lot of people are also afraid to take a chance to make a better life. They are content with their safe life, and I have to agree with that to a major. I would say I agree, but there's also people that are trying their absolute damnness to just make it by, and they can't. And so I know oftentimes the guy that does the hardest work gets paid the least, unfortunately, and I think that's a fucked up dynamic that we've got. Now, here's where trades come in, trades, electricians, plumbers, all these things. These are kind of avenues that you can do some hard work and get paid decent, So I think that people need to focus what they're comfortable with and go into, it's kind of like what men have always done. Follow where the money goes. Wherever the money is, go make that money over there. It's always the way of history.
Right. Well, I know back years ago, like I said, electricians, plumbers, machinists, welders. I know you won't know about this, but Boilermakers, they made huge money. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Everybody needed them. Now, a lot of those trades is going to the side. Now it's more cyber coding, cybersecurity, stuff like that. That's the stuff that you need to get into now. I seen a show the other day on YouTube where they was talking about within the next 5 years that they will have technology that you wouldn't need surgeons, that their robots will be that precise and better that you wouldn't need surgeons. So you thinking like, okay, well, what about all these kids that's in medical school right now? That's going to end up with these huge student loan debts, $100,000-$200,000, some more than that in student loan debts. And then by the time they get out, they're not even needed because you got a robot that can do it just as better and don't need time off and don't need to be paid and, don't need none of that. They're just
regards to AI, I think that, yes, it threatens a lot of careers like that, right? But also, I do think that us men, as a society, need to adjust to technology growth. So if AI is taking your job away, okay, well, now figure out how to program that AI or how to fix that AI when it breaks. Be the engineer that can, you have to adapt to your situations. You can't just be like, okay, I got hired at this, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life because I'm content and comfy. Forget that. Mm-hmm. If you see that AI is going to take over your job, well, get ahead of the ball and go, okay, well, what can I do to make sure that my career is safe? Well, let me learn everything about the AI program. Let me learn everything about this robot that does it and how to fix it if it breaks down or whatever. There's ways to get ahead of it, but a lot of people are just too comfortable in their safe, cushy environment, which is what originally what Steve Easy was getting at in the chat, which I do agree with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and you should.
Right.
And but that's more along the lines of the younger ones that's coming through. What about these ones who, let's say these ones that work at Ford, that's been there for, 25, 30 years, getting ready to retire. And now, okay, you got a whole new thing going on now. You know what I mean? A lot of people are not going to be able to, like, even with those jobs, even if you know how to code and program AI and stuff like that, it's only going to be a certain number of jobs for that. You know what I mean? It ain't like everybody can go and try to learn it, but they're only going to have certain few that's actually going to be able to do it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So
those
what
are the
happens
people
to the
getting
rest
ahead
of
of the ball. Well, that's the people getting ahead of the ball. The ones that put forth that effort to learn it before you have to need to know it. Because when it comes time, and they lay you off because now AI can do your job. I mean, if you can't give the company a valuable reason why you should still be an employee there, I don't know, man. Those are the people that just see shit, and they're like chameleons in that aspect of the workforce. Like, hey, my job title may change, and that's exactly what happened to me. For instance, like in the DOT, regards to oil and handling and all that, my regulations changed every single year, especially in California. I worked in the Port of Long Beach and Los Angeles, so regulations changed every single fucking year, and that shit to me was the biggest bombardment of my job, because one year we're allowed to do it this way, and the next year we can go to and literally get 15 years in prison for it. So there's a major difference, and you have to be able to go, okay, well, I can't do that. I gotta spin on my heels and adjust. And I think that's what people need to do in life in general, not just in a workforce. I think that is something that us human beings need to be able to do, is to acclimate to our environment.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the New Deal? You know what that is?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So I give you this short version. So in a nutshell, the New Deal was like a massive series of programs and stuff launched by President Roosevelt back in.
Okay, I've heard of this before, but I don't know the exact details of it.
In between like 1933 and 39, shortly after the Great Depression. Basically, that's what rescued us from the Great Depression. And they put in a lot of these programs. That's where the stock market oversight comes in. That's where FDIC came in the picture. A lot of agriculture adjustments, civilian conservation, all that stuff. And basically what that New Deal was like a rebirth. Okay. So you had the Great Depression, everything was nothing. You know what I mean? Everything dropped to nothing. People lost fortunes. People, they showed things where these bankers were just unaliving themselves because they lost everything.
Yes. And that did really happen. Yeah.
Right. And this New Deal is it's what they put in place to like jumpstart everything and bring everything, back on track. You know what I mean? To where prosperity actually started picking up again. You know what I mean? And that's where, like you hear the older people talk about it all the time. When they talk about the New Deal, that's what they meant. It was you bringing the country back from shambles back up to a prosperity level. That's where the whole, work hard, do this, and this is what's waiting for you if you do these things.
So are you telling me that was a type of level of propaganda to boost morale?
Well, it was, and then it actually did happen, because
no, it did.
Like probably like right after that, and you had World War II, everything else jumped off. Everything shot up, and like I said, it was business wise, it was a great time to be in America.
Yes,
a lot of the, right. If you worked in steel work, or you worked in the coal mine, stuff like that, it was a great time because you made a lot of money. You know what I mean? And you were able to pay your bills and feed your family, and still have money that you could save.
Yep.
And
you can invest,
right?
Save,
and you could and you had
have a nice car.
Right. So you had that look like, okay, I could see the light at the end of this tunnel. I could, what I mean? I'm good. I'm comfortable. You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't have a million.
Because they're also feeling the effects as the shift changes little by little, right?
Right. But see, like, okay, like for instance, like we was talking about, like I just bought up the coal company. Now, I'm from West Virginia, and West Virginia was primarily.
Are you actually? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
West Virginia is basically a coal mining state. You know what I mean? Back during that time, all the way up until the mid 90s, coal was the number one thing that was brewing there. You know what I mean? Everybody, when you went through high school, you had a couple choices. Either you're going to work in a coal mine, go to college, or go in the military.
Isn't that really kind of the same thing now?
No.
Kinda?
No.
I thought it was the same. I mean, I know it's not as booming as it used to be, of course, but people still coal mine there.
Very little. Okay. Very little. A lot of those coal miners dried up, closed down for when they started putting in different policies for like pollution and stuff like that. A lot of those coal mines shut down because they started using other alternatives for energy besides coal. Sure. So once they stopped doing that, the actual production that they needed dropped down tremendously. Then they started doing what you call mountaintop removal, where they were, instead of going miles under the ground, they were just chopping the tops of the mountains, pulling the coal from there. And then you started fracking and all the other stuff. Right. They were trying to do other different ways to be able to get the coal besides going down, miles down up under the ground, and you risking, cave-ins, all that stuff. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that died under the ground.
Yes, 100,000%. Many folk songs about it too.
Right. But that was the big thing though, because I mean, you could be working a regular job and a job will pop open for you in the coal mines, and that's where you're going because that's what paid. That was stability for everyone that lived in them little coal mining towns. You know what I mean? And one of the towns the town that I was raised in was a coal mining town. My grandfather was a supervisor at the coal mines.
Damn.
So it was so that's what kept the economy booming in those areas, because you worked in those coal mines. Now, when those coal mines dried up, those towns dried up as well.
Of course.
So you go through those towns now, and it's like
look at Montgomery. Look at Montgomery, Alabama. They used to be that's the capital of Alabama right there. Dead city. There's no aside from the State House being there, aside from the State House being there, everything else there is shit. Everyone abandoned it, because it's like there's no money to be made. So us men need to go where we can make money.
Right. So where I was going with that was that you had that rate of prosperity, you know what I mean? Where, those particular jobs, even though it was a dirty job, it was a nasty job, it was a hard job, but
hardcore.
You still seen light at the end of the tunnel. You were able to, buy a home, you were able to get a car, take care of your family.
Well, you're getting compensated fairly well for the risk, the risk and the reward. You're not necessarily you're not a millionaire. I'm not trying to, but at the same time, you're able to afford a house. You're able to get groceries for your family and have a family and stuff like that. So yeah. I think those kind of opportunities are slimming down for sure.
Exactly. So you went from that level to now you work in 2 weeks, you get your money. Like I said, you looking at it and you sitting here trying to figure out like, okay, what all I need to pay compared to what I have here. And by the time you done, you broke. You don't have nothing to put in savings. You don't have nothing to put, even if you didn't put money in the bank, you don't have nothing to put into it anyway. You done gave everything you had away. So now you in this process where you learning to cope.
Yes.
With what you have.
Facts. That's literally facts.
That's the whole thing I was talking about, dealing with this resilience. You went from one level to now is just, okay, I'm just getting by. I'm learning how to cope with having less and being able to still do what I need to do and just not have it over here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But here's the here's the danger that nobody really talks about dealing with this though. It's because resilience is only supposed to have been temporary. Um, like just like you prepare, how you prepare for storms. Um, a hurricane come through, you prepare for stuff like that. You don't prepare to be resilient because it's a way of life. You know what I mean? To where every day you have to learn how to be resilient. You know what I mean? You have to learn to cope with whatever, settle for less, and just let it go by. You know what I mean? But
I agree, but this shit, it really is gladiator school. I mean, at this point, like, that's why, I mean, I had the carpet pulled underneath from me before. And that's exactly why I've set myself up for no matter what the situation happens, that can never happen again. I just don't set, I don't set myself up for that, such as debt, anything that they can come in and take power over you,
exactly. And that actually makes a lot of sense because when you think about it, history shows that societies don't really collapse because they face hardship. They collapse because people start believing that hardship is actually going to lead them somewhere.
Right. Agreed.
So if resilience replaces complexity and people actually start disengaging, then they stop investing emotionally. They stop investing economically. They stop investing socially. And
emotionally as well.
yeah, I said that. Did I say
sorry.
Yeah, I said that.
My apologies.
And once that happens, it's hard to survive anything at that point.
Yes.
If you basically just wrote off everything. You know what I mean? Just all right, it just is what it is. I'm just gonna deal with it.
I'm gonna say something that's really interesting. For instance, do you know that the for an example, in Ukraine, do you know what? And I just recently learned this from Straight Jacket in the chat. Do you know the biggest struggle in that whole ordeal is American soldiers are very used to always winning. America's got their back. I mean, we're the number one in the entire world. And then all of a sudden they go over to Ukraine and fight that fight and realize, oh shit, these guys only last on morale.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have that major backing like that, like we're the number one, we're the powerhouse, we can swing our dick and do anything we want. Now they go into an environment like that, and then they lose it real quick because they're like, oh shit, we don't have what we do in the United States,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's kind of an example, though, of what you were talking about.
Oh yeah. I mean, and there's when you somewhere that you in a place where it's a completely different culture, and you sit back and you look at everything that's going on there, and you like, wow, this ain't nothing like
what we got.
I deal with over here, right? Which actually makes this over here so like, oh shit, it's really not that bad.
Listen, that's why I tell everybody, if you haven't been to a third world country legitimately, not Tijuana, okay? You know what I mean? I'm talking about like legitimately going into like places that struggle for real. And I have, for instance, I mean, I went down into Brazil, went in the favelas of Rio, into Sao Paulo, Brazil, all that. And these guys are living off of nothing. Nothing. It's incredible. Even what they live in is not government approved. I mean, at any time they can get taken out. I mean, they're building shit on the mountaintops of shit that could just fall, because nothing's been approved. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think that people should go into these environments and actually experience for themselves the treatment and the difference of humanity in these countries, because it's brutal. It's nothing like the United States. People kind of get this misconstrued notion because we've got such a safe bubble, and then on top of that, social media exemplifies all this bullshit, and people unfortunately are very ignorant and arrogant at the same time, and they don't actually research and dive deep into they're very surface level people. And I hate to say it that way, but it's like, unfortunately, people don't like actually experience these situations. They only kind of hear about it, or maybe if they do hear about it, they've got their fingers over their ears. I don't hear nothing, but I think it would be good for Americans, all of them. I actually I condone every single American citizen that has never been to a third world country. Go to one. Check it out.
I think to some people, you could think of resilience as more or less like a bridge. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that it really kind of depends on what comes next. So if this resilience leads to reform and investments and renewed opportunity, then of course it's a good thing. But if it becomes a permanent excuse for why things never improve, then it's basically conditioning people to accept less and deal with it.
Unfortunately, yes.
And that's kind of what this is. With a lot of stuff that's going on now with, the job losses and the layoffs and, unemployment spiking, and you have the thing with the interest rates is it's going to fluctuate. You don't know what that's getting ready to do. You don't know what the housing market is actually taking a hit. I seen a thing today where they had buildings that was valued at like these big high rise buildings that was valued at like 3 and 400 billion, that they were 3 and 400 million still, sorry, that they were selling for like 900,000.
Oh wow.
And $1 million, because
Yeah.
the value was here, but they only getting this. So the actual investors and stuff for those buildings were losing their ass because they were selling these buildings and they wasn't making no profit off of it.
I mean, listen, man, like even my parents' house in California before they moved here, the house was on the market for like almost a year. You know what I mean? Their house was super, I would assume, overvalued, and it took forever to sell. And that's why I think that's another thing to consider when people think about like investing in property and stuff like that. Here's the difference that I do tell you. Property is not only a liability in the aspect that you need to have insurance and you have property taxes you got to pay nonetheless. You just have to consider property as a whole as it can be an absolute liability. So just if you buy $1 million of gold right now, and that's what you have in your possession, and you have $1 million property, I can sell that $1 million worth of gold right now and get that $1 million right now. I mean, that's literally the difference between, you may have on a minimum scale 90 days of your house on the market. Let's say you shoot the shit and now all of a sudden you can't afford life, you can't feed your kids, whatever the case is, and you've got to sell your house. That shit, minimum 90 days. I could take my gold and silver right now to anywhere and have that shit sold today.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, that's
a different type of liability, though, of how long it takes you to sell it.
Right. And I even seen some stuff today where it was telling you that you needed to take your liquid money and not put it in the banks, to put it somewhere else, because they're talking about these banks are getting ready to take a huge hit, and they're going to take a hit to the point that they're going to have to use the money that they have to bail themselves out of. So when that happens, you lose your money. And if you have more in your account than what the FDIC will
Correct.
cover, you're
Which
going
is
to be
what, 250,000 or
right, right.
150,000, something like
It's
that. Yeah.
250. And if you have more in your account than what the FDIC will cover, then you won't get that back.
Right. So if I've got $1 million, 250,000 of that is secured. They'll insure, quote unquote, that 250,000, but your $750,000, see you later.
Right.
That's why these people with major wealth don't necessarily stockpile their money in all one checking account, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I've seen this morning in one of the episodes that I was watching. They were talking about this. They were saying that if you did have liquid asset, put it into something else, because if this takes a hit that they were talking about that's going to happen, and you seen today, you just sent me before the show started how much silver then jumped up. You know, I mean, when we first started telling people on this show about buying silver, silver was running roughly like $20 an ounce. When we first started talking about it, telling people to buy silver. And now it's what, 116 an ounce now?
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm going to pull it up. Just give me a sec. It'll take me a second to find it on the website.
Yeah, so it done jumped up from $20 to 116 in a little less than a year. Silver hasn't ran that high. In fact, it ain't never ran that high. And it's steady climbing.
This is spot right now for silver. $118 right this second.
Mm-hmm. So, it was 116 earlier. Now it's up to 118. So it went up $2 more bucks for the time you just...
In 1 hour since we've been on the show, it went from 116 to 118.
Mm-hmm.
1 hour.
So the ones that's listening that actually took heed to what it was that we told you.
Look at gold.
Your silver has jumped up. Right.
In 1 day, look at this. Is in one day, a single day graph right here. Here, let's go to 1 week. This is just insane, dude. 1 month. That's gold.
Mm-hmm.
3 months. Yep.
Yeah,
we're at
so
55.26 an ounce, dude.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So like I said, we've been talking about this for almost a year now, telling people to go do this. So if you listen to us when we first brought it out, and all these other weeks that we've been saying it, then you made some money. If you didn't, you need to get it while you can, because it's gonna keep climbing. From the looks of it, it's not gonna stop anytime soon. It's gonna keep climbing.
There's nothing stopping this train right now.
Right. So you can get it.
All governments around the world have tried to stop this train. It's failed.
No.
All governments, China, everybody. I mean, look at China right now. Their silver is like $160 an ounce.
Mm-hmm. See, but China also have it to where they're not giving none away. And it's staying right there. They ain't giving nothing away.
Right now, it's actually illegal for them. They made it like law that they are not allowed to export silver.
Yep. They're keeping everything in the house.
Mm-hmm.
They're not letting nothing out.
That's why I watched the Hong Kong exchange for the whole silver and gold markets. I watch it on Sunday nights. And because when you start seeing that graph move on their side and it's going steady up, all of a sudden you know that Monday morning when markets open here, it's automatic.
Mm-hmm. But you also have to watch Mexico.
Yes, that's true.
Mexico has the largest silver mines in the world, and if they put a ban on that to where they're not exporting any silver out of there, that's when silver is going to go. It's going to bull run.
Look what Claire says. I've already made $200 on my coins that delivered today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You know, what I mean, when I bought mine when it was I bought my first couple pieces when it was at 20. I bought my last couple pieces when it was like 29, $30.
Damn.
So what I bought is already went up 5 times from
Yeah.
what I paid for it.
Yeah, that's kind of insane.
Yeah. And it's gonna keep climbing. So, like I said, if you have not bought it, get it. Get it. Okay. It's not climbing just for the simple fact of climbing. It's
Or
climbing
putting
for
it
a
in your
reason.
face.
It is climbing for a reason. Grab it. Okay? Grab it. Even if you just
Facts.
get a little bit, get something.
And
Get something
don't
that you
get
can physically hold.
don't get EFTs. Guys, don't buy buying futures, shorts, none of that shit. Be obtainable. What you don't have in your hand, you don't own. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Right. So we're sitting at just over an hour here. So we're gonna tune this down for the evening. Um, but I want to give this closer before we go. Um, so I need y'all to remember a few things. Number one, resilience isn't a lie. Systems do need to withstand shock. Communities do need to adapt, and people do need to be strong in uncertain times. No matter what, you're gonna have to be you're gonna have to be strong for what's about to come, because what's about to come is it's um it's gonna challenge everyone, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's gonna challenge your pocket. It's gonna challenge your bank account. It's gonna challenge everything that you know for being true. You're gonna it's gonna challenge everything. Um, but resilience was never supposed to replace the actual hope that you have. It was supposed to protect that. And the danger comes when resilience becomes permanent policy instead of a temporary position. When crisis language never ends, that adaptation replaces the aspiration. When survival quietly replaces that progress, because society doesn't thrive on endurance alone. It thrives on belief that effort's going to lead you somewhere, that sacrifice means something, that tomorrow is worth actually building towards. So if the future that's being offered to us now is only one of management, uh, mediation, and maintenance, then people eventually they just stop investing. They stop investing emotionally, socially, and economically. And when that belief disappears, no amount of resilience can hold that system together. So the question isn't whether we need resilience, because we do. The real question is whether resilience is being used as a bridge to back to bring us back to growth, um, or is it just quietly lowering expectations without admitting something fundamental is changing, which we all know, and all you ones that watch know that something is fundamentally changing. Um, that's what I'm gonna leave y'all with this tonight. Are we being prepared for a stronger future, or are we trained to adapt to a smaller one? I'm gonna say that one more time, and I want y'all to think about this when this show goes off. Are we being prepared for a stronger future, or are you being trained to adapt to a smaller one? So let us know what you think, because if resilience is our new goal, the future belongs to the people who decide what that word resilience really means.
Mm.
So I thank you all for coming out, like always. Like, follow, share, subscribe, hit that like button. That like button means more to this show than anything. You have to, the ones that watch this show on a regular, you know that YouTube don't like us talking about this stuff.
Facts.
You know, they hit it, they shadow ban us, they do everything humanly possible to keep this from going out. So by you hitting the like button, by you hitting the comments after the show, put the comments in, stuff like that. That's what kind of tells the algorithm that it needs to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll put it back up to where more people can watch.
Facts.
Think about it. The ones that watch on a regular, you know what we put out here. And you know that the stuff that we're talking about, it's no lie. It's the truth. The truth's the light of the world. And this is the stuff that needs to get out there. Because the more people who don't know this, it's the more people who's going to suffer on the back end. So, like, follow, share, subscribe, tell your people, go on here, check it out. Pass it on to their friends. That's how we keep this momentum going. You know what I mean? We don't, super chats is good. Donations is great because we ain't getting paid from YouTube because YouTube don't like us.
That's right. That's
facts. All great. But hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, that's what gets us where we need to be. That's what gets this word out to people who don't know. You know what I mean? In the good book, it says, my people will die from lack of knowledge. This show here is exactly what we're doing. We're putting out knowledge. We're putting out truth. Main point, truth. And that truth means everything these days. So like, follow, share, subscribe, hit the little QR code at the top, take you to the Diamond Effect website. Have a lot of stuff on there, old shows, a lot of merchandise, stuff like that is on there. Also, for you ones, we was talking about the movies, the lawful ones, just hit today. It just came out today.
It did.
So you go on Tubi, type in the lawful ones, you'll know it because you'll see me on the front of it.
Damn straight.
They're gonna show the first 4 episodes, and then they're gonna drop the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th right after that.
Damn.
Yeah, but you can go on Tubi right now and watch it. Also, Riding Dirty Part 1 and Part 2 is also on Tubi. So y'all sitting there, you ain't doing nothing, cut on there, watch it, check it out. Tell me what you think. Other than that, like I said, once again, my condolences to Jughead's family, his wife, his sons, his whole family, man. That's a hard pill to swallow right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's an uneasy subject to even touch back on it. I'm not going to. I just want to say my condolences to your family once again. Much love to y'all. I'm here if you need me, Melissa. Just give me a call. And everyone else, I'll see you in 7 days. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I hope that we did, honor your brother on this episode, and my condolences to Jughead's family and to you, AB. I know you're real close with them. So, listen, man, if you guys are here on my side, stick around. We're going to be rating our buddy Sick Bastard. He's live on his own panel right now. Make sure you guys let him know we're coming through the raid, as well as hit the like button on both mine and Archbishop's side. I really appreciate your guys' engagement, and we'll see you guys here in 7 days. Much love, honor, respect to everybody.